Lads, no beating around the bush here. We're going to get straight into it. Leafs lose game 7. I think it's 0-10 in their last 10 chances to close out eliminations. The streak of 0-4 being the last time they won a series continues. Listen, today's going to be a lot of time dictated to the Leafs. We're going to get to all the other series and maybe previewing the second round as well. Trust me, the Minnesota Wild are going to get their thrashing later. But first and foremost, I texted Alex last night and I told him, today we are covering every base with the Leafs. Probably looking back at the season, I'm sure, looking at this series and what's next for them. So first and foremost, Alex, how do you feel?
I don't know. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. I'll put it like that. I think that's how the first thing I said to you when you came into the Zoom call, I was mad. No, I'm disappointed. I'm not mad. I don't know what to be mad about is the issue. They lost. Yeah. No, I know. But yeah, no, I was literally speechless last night. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Usually in years past, it's just angry swearing for an hour. And it's like, come on. And then Mike will call me, or that's what happens in the past. He's not a Leafs fan anymore, but, in the past, he'd call me and then we'd talk. But I wasn't even interested in talking. I was downtown last night with some friends, not specifically to watch the game. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to have a good time now. I didn't want to talk about it. It's just, there was not that there was nothing to talk about. It was just that, what am I going to say? Who am I going to yell at? It's not like I honestly didn't think there was anyone I could really yell at about the last 7 games.
I think that's very fair. I appreciate that you're not yelling at the refs because I think that's been a bit of an easy cop-out this series.
I mean, 2 things can be true. That doesn't mean I'm not angry at the refs.
Okay, fair enough.
But 2 things can be true. It's just I don't have the energy or I don't know. If I keep talking, I'm going to ramble on. You go.
No, Daniel, you go ahead. How do you feel? Because you are also partly a Leafs fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, you feel nothing.
That's fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt that. I really kind of was, I guess, 2 things. First thing, I was in the waiting of, okay, where's that game 5, game 6 kind of, re-energized mode I was going to see the Leafs maybe bring out, but the game to me just kind of felt like it was the same thing every period. They did keep it close. I think they kept Tampa where they needed to, and they had the chances, but I think I just wanted that onslaught or that bombardment of just offensive chances they were able to do in the other games. And for this one, I just kind of felt that I was watching it and the time for some reason just felt like it was just going and going, and there wasn't really that oh my gosh moment that they almost tied it, or that oh my gosh moment that was a great play. It was they were good plays, but there weren't that 1 or 2 plays that I thought would define their comeback.
There was that little scare towards the end of the third with Vasilevsky. The man nearly pulled the Marc-Andre Fleury vintage, but sorry, I had to. I watching it was different than other game 7s the Leafs have had. You look at the pair against Boston the Matthews era, sort of the ones there were blown leads. There was the sort of no-show, and the other one I want to say that was the one where Jake DeBrusk had the goal where Gardner took the body instead of the play. Then there was the Columbus series in that game 5, and then obviously we've spoken a lot about that game 7 versus Montreal last year, but this one was the Leafs were in it. They were, I would argue, the better team in the series. I think the biggest difference was in game 6 and 7, I think Andre Vasilevsky showed up as opposed to what he was in games 1 to 5. I think was probably the defining factor of the series. I mentioned officiating because a lot was mentioned last night on that Justin Hall, some called it a pick.
You said
it was, listen, I'll say this. I thought that was an extremely tough call to make in a game 7. Not as in for the refs. I thought it was a very, I wouldn't personally have made that call in a game 7.
Well, what I have issue with is the time between that and then what happened afterwards. The time between the pick and the goal.
Mm-hmm. It was it wasn't until after the goal where they're like, okay, hold on a second. It wasn't just the refs, because I did want to mention one thing. The Leafs did go 0 for 3 on the power play in that game. So they had it was in game 6, I think they only had 1 power play, and that was a little rough. The refs were not perfect, but they were not the reason. The reason I mentioned that power play is I go back to, it was Andrei Vasilevskiy, because Braden Point played 5 minutes in that game. I think Nikita Kucherov's probably hurt, or he's not 100% because he's been ineffective. I don't want to say he's been lazy, because playoff Kucherov is normally a different beast. And we'll get to some of the more Tampa stuff later on, but go ahead. Yeah, no, this is yours.
No, what I was going to say is we're all recognizing that. I think I texted you last night. We're all recognizing the team that the Leafs played, right?
Yes.
Just when we're talking about the future, and I think we'll get to that today. When we're talking about the future of the team and the future of the core and the future of the coaching staff, I'm well aware of the last 6 years. You don't have to remind me. Don't act as if the people saying what I'm about to say are stupid. We're well aware of the last 6 years. We're well aware of the last 18 years. Don't play stupid. And you know who you are. We all walked into this series saying this is the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. What I have issue with is walking into this series 2 weeks before the narrative started, are the Tampa Bay Lightning tired? That pissed me off, by the way. Knowing that Toronto
Friedman.
It was Friedman America. Listen, fine, fair argument. But what I have issue with is now going into the playoffs, that narrative was still lingering around.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the fact that, Tampa didn't look good here, and then Tampa didn't look good there. And then when Toronto didn't look good, well, it's time to blow everything up. Show the consistency. That's what pissed me off, because sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to quickly say, where Alex was, I was right all along, was this entire time in this series, and even off of the podcast when we had conversations, was Alex was always like, wait until elimination Vasilevskiy. That was, just points of consistency. You were very consistent about that the entire series, and even going in. I just wanted to mention that.
Statistically, I think before last night, I'd have to check. This was Vasilevskiy's worst series since Columbus.
Probably, yeah.
I think they showed it. I took a picture. I think they showed it on the broadcast last night.
It was
what?
So it was the first time in a deciding game that he allowed a goal too, in in stupid amount of time.
Yeah, in over a year. So let's go back to, this is the back-to-back winning Stanley Cup champions. I'm not defending the team. Don't get it mistaken. I'm not defending the team at all, but I'm using history and context to understand what this team should do next. Well, tell me sorry, one more thing. If you watch this series and your first tweet was pathetic, just tell me you didn't watch the series. That's fine. That's fine. Just admit it.
It is so unfortunate for the sort of the context of all of this, right? Is at the end, we talked a lot about this all year, where we talked about how good the Leafs are playing, how poor they would be playing. And our whole thing was, it doesn't matter until the playoffs and how they needed the result. Now the problem sort of comes is we get to the result, but their most competitive loss in all these series was against the super juggernaut team. And yeah, I'm not excusing it either. At the end of the day, a loss is a loss. Like that's the thing.
100%.
It doesn't matter. But it's so, I think it could be difficult for people. And you know me, I was a guy saying this entire year, if you lose, there has to be changes. The facts have changed, and so is my opinion on that. It is, I think we'll get to each individual people in a second and certain personnel, but I think it's fair to say, at least management and coaching wise, they showed enough in this series. Like Sheldon Keefe, for example. Well, let's start with him. You could tell the way he was getting them to play. He, right now at least, is still the coach of this team, and he still has those guys playing at a sensational level. You'd be stupid to get rid of him. Stupid.
And what do you do? What if you do fire him, hypothetically? What I think we have to understand, or what people have to understand, when you're calling for the firing of a coach or general manager, the most important question to ask is, what are you going to do after? Because if you're firing someone to fire someone, that never works. Ever. Look at the coaches that got fired this year. Dom Ducharme, why did he get fired? Because he sucked. Why did Dave Tippett get fired? Because he lost the room. Why did Travis Green get fired? Because he lost the room. What are any of these things happening in Toronto?
No,
I don't think so. No.
Okay. And like, so what are we going to replace? Who do you want to bring in? People need to start having that discussion instead of just blindly closing their eyes and saying we should fire them. Okay, and then what?
Mm-hmm. That's it. And I'm still, first, I guess people would say Barry Trotz, but no. I don't think he's quite the right. I know I mentioned it. I think like last episode or 2 episodes ago, like hypothetically. But looking at Dubas next, I think it's pretty safe to say, I mean, they say, I think, what's the saying? It takes 5 seasons for a GM's vision to start to come into place. The first thing that Kyle Dubas had to do was clean up Lou Lamoriello's mess. And once
you said it, not me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is fact. Don't look. Zaitsev, how are you? Then you sort of Patrick Marleau. We love you, man. But I mean, that contract at the end wasn't great. And they knew it. Yeah, and
when they signed it.
And this isn't so rubbing salt in your wound, Alex, but it's like Seth Jarvis looks really good in Carolina right now. Shout out Boston, you bastards. Anyway, then you look at, but my point is, then you sort of look at what Dubas did this season. And also what hurts is like the forward group and the defense is the deepest it's been in years. You can see the vision going forward, aka in the coming years, Knives, Abersazy will be coming in. Of course, the progression of Liljegren and Sandin. Obviously there was as the series went on, we saw less and less of Timothy Liljegren. Not blaming this on Justin Hall, by the way, but you can see the vision that the Leafs are going with. So I think that's why you probably say that Dubas stays, because he's done a good job.
And we'll ask the question again in a different way. What would you change with this team?
I mean,
maybe one thing.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I think a lot of the things that did happen during the season, the way he's been able to kind of maneuver, Kyle Dubas, he's been able to maneuver around things, get the players, I think, complemented the core the best, cheaply, I might say. It's what you would want in an off season anyway. So I think they did what they needed to do for this team. Of course, I don't know who's going to come back, but they did add the pieces that I thought complemented everything the best.
Well, you look at even the pieces, like in the summer especially, is what helps the Leafs if they're running it back completely is, again, Bunting's back at the good number. I believe David Kampf is on a 2-year deal as well. And he, I think, overachieved this series, especially with the goals he was scoring early in it. Obviously, the big guys are the big guys, and maybe we can have a little talk about Nylander in a second. I'm not doing it for hot takery, but there's a reason I want to bring him up. I think the one thing you can criticize is the goaltending.
Right.
Because and that is not just this season, that is an organizational critique that we know has been a big issue with the Leafs for a very long time.
Yeah.
Man, what's going to happen with Mrazek? Like, maybe when we look at some of the roster stuff later, it's a lot of questions. But it's just it's so. It reminds me again of when Tampa lost to Columbus, where you guys remember the award show, and Kucherov was MVP, and Keenan Thompson made those jokes about like they tied the record for most wins and least playoff losses, and the Tampa Bay Lightning were putting on sort of fake smiles there. Matthews is going to be the MVP, and it's just not going to mean anything. It is like Marner showed up. That's the word. Tavares, who I was so critical of in the back half of the series, showed up. That's the worst. But Morgan Riley, my captain. I'm so sorry, Alex. I don't mean to rub salt in the wound, my friend. But it is the first time in this core's history we have seen what they're made of, and they just lost. It was an honest loss for the first time. It wasn't embarrassing. It wasn't, well, people laugh at them anyway because it is the Leafs, but it was not a series and a performance you can laugh at. I mean, Campbell was good in this series. I know his save percentage, I believe, is like, it's below 900, but again, if you watch the series and all that, he was the second best goalie in the last two games of the series, arguably, and it was to maybe the best goaltender in the world. And I'll remind people who aren't watching the video, I'm a Habs fan, and I am saying this. I am not a Leafs homer. I do not cheer for this team.
I'm saying so was the other guy, below 900. But again, he's Andre Vasilevsky and the best goalie in the world.
I believe the number, prior to game 6 and 7 was an 8-3, I believe, before 5 and 6. Oh, 6.
Wait, what his save percentage was?
Vasilevsky, I believe so. Yeah,
it wasn't great. Neither goalies were fantastic by any means. Man, it was an honest loss, and I think the fans downtown felt that. I wasn't near the square, but I made eye contact with about 10 different Leaf fans after the game last night. And I think there was interaction with about 2 of them.
Did you wear your jersey?
I wore my jersey the rest of the night.
What jersey was it?
It's John Tavares' jersey.
Okay.
But yeah, there was just deadness in everyone's eyes. Like there was, again, like I was saying at the beginning, it's just, I don't know. The thing is, I don't know who to be mad at. Like I literally don't know. What am I supposed to yell about today?
So
okay, the dumb penalties they took in game 6, 100%. But what am I supposed to yell about?
It's just the one thing that people are yelling about is officiating, but no offense
about that.
And there are a lot of people tweeting about officiating that I like. With respect, guys, were they bad? Yeah, but I mean, guys, the officiating was not the reason the Leafs lost. It was not. You look at it, and what else is next, right? So the reason I ask about Nylander is because, there's one more thing I wanted to mention before it slips my mind again. So I've begun watching Steve's LFR. Steve Dangle, like a moment for Steve Dangle, by the way. Like, honestly, that man puts his heart on the sleeve. And I have so much respect for him.
He needs a break.
He needs just go hang out with your kid for the summer, man.
Honestly.
Play with your dog. Just take a break, my man. Take a break.
Go vintage toy shopping. I think that'd be great.
Vintage? No, they're action figures, not dolls.
I said toys.
No, it's a joke from their podcast they made once. But so apparently, so obviously the Leafs and Lightning play each other 4 times in the regular season, and then these 7 games. Well, he's talking. Steve was talking about him and his friend speaking. I'm only like 10 minutes into it's half an hour. So Steve and his friend are talking about. So of those 11 games, it alternated. Leafs Lightning, Leafs Lightning, Leafs Lightning. The only time a team in that series won back-to-back games was Tampa in Game 6 and 7. Think about that. It was that slim a margin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alex.
No. It sparks. I wanted to bring this up actually because I was having a conversation with someone yesterday. I texted them. I said, "Are you ready?" And then they called me. And I'm like, "Okay." We had about a 10-minute conversation, and it was. I think we both accepted. This was before Game 7. Sorry, we both accepted that this team is different. And I feel weird saying that because obviously everyone says that every year. But I think going into Game 7, it felt different because of the first 6 games. I think if we walked into the playoffs saying this team is different, I wouldn't believe that. I don't know. I wouldn't know because the first 6 games are when I take that into consideration. I honestly did think this team was different. Like, man, like I think that the one, like we were saying before, like the one area that could have been better was goaltending. But again, like we're talking about going up against the best goalie in the world.
We're only saying that because Price is probably retiring, by the way.
I said it last episode. No,
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Like, what are you putting up against that?
Mm.
That's going to be comparable.
The Islanders couldn't beat it. It's just there's a reason they're going for the three-peat, man. They're not. Listen.
So can we start talking about it like that instead of just complaining that they look tired?
Listen, I will say one thing. I don't want to hear a damn thing about playoff formatting. I don't want to freaking hear it. I don't want to hear about it from people. You got to be good teams to win the cup. It's just they ran into literally the worst possible. Second worst because Colorado. Let's see now the championship pedigree. But they couldn't have asked for a worse opponent. But at the same time, it's necessary. You know what I mean? Because there's learning to lose, which maybe the Leafs have learned. Maybe we've been looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I'm crazy here. The Leafs first had to learn to lose. And this series was the first way for them to learn how to win. That may sound really dumb, but maybe that's it. Because listen, they could have played great in Game 6, and then if the Leafs had laid an egg in Game 7, then I think maybe you question Sheldon.
If they laid an egg in Game 7, I would be calling for everyone's firing and saying this is
we would have recorded we would have recorded last night. I bet.
Yeah, I would have come home right away and said this man needs to be fired. This man needs to be fired, and I would have given a replacement because that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, looking at what's next. By the way, really smart little thing. The Leafs do have their first round pick, which was a good smart thing by Sheldon. They have Winnipeg. Yeah, sorry, why did I say Sheldon? Anyway, by good old Kyle and those glasses. Man, looks great. Why do they have Winnipeg's third? Anyway, they have Winnipeg's third and then their 7th. Just for some context here. Phil Kessel's retained salary is coming off the books, but you can kind of just say that's going into Morgan Riley's new contract. We'll go through each of the current UFAs. Please do not let me forget to bring up William Nylander.
Sorry, they got that 3rd round pick because they traded Travis Dermott.
Oh yeah,
to Vancouver.
Oh,
that's the Nate Schmidt pick.
Yeah. Got it.
Oh, okay. That's a trade. Yeah. And they got and the Canucks got a 3rd for Hamonic. God, the Sens are dumb. Okay. UFA Ilya Mikheyev. who had, I think, the back half of the year once he got healthy. I mean, every criticism we have of him, he fixed his game completely.
Yeah. Hey guys, we don't need to write the article of why the Leafs can't afford Ilya Mikheyev. I'll do it in one sentence for you.
Okay.
He wants to be traded. There we go. End of article, guys.
I liked him in Toronto, but yeah, I think he's gone. I think it's going to be too much of a cap hit. And honestly, like, I guess like long term, maybe like all has been forgiven, but not forgotten when he requested a trade.
Yeah, I mean, it was because it was a play thing, right? He eventually got that top 6 shot, but then you just wonder, is there a team that sees this really fast, like can play in your middle 6, great penalty killer, can get your shorthanded goals, and there's someone out there who's willing to overpay him? I could see that.
It's the NHL. There definitely will be someone willing to overpay him.
4 for 4.
I'd love to bring him back, by the way. It's just he wanted to be traded. Not that he wanted to be traded. I don't want them to resign him. He wanted to be traded. I just don't think he's going to resign with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. RFA Andre Kasha, who there's Arbrights in there, but I mean, man, the Kasha did. He proved me wrong. Guy stayed healthy for most of the year. There were some stretches in there, but he came back and was such an effective depth player for them.
Yeah. I'd like for them to bring him back. I think and we'll get to Kerfoot, but who knows if he's going to be back. He'd be a good piece to have on that second line. And I think that he's had glimpses there or had shots there during the regular season. And I think even a couple games in the playoffs, well, obviously he ended up on the 4th line, but I really wouldn't mind if they brought him back in some way, shape, or form. That'd be nice.
I think for me, it just, maybe this is a slight bias here, but I just feel like there's unfinished business here. I think that he's been able to remodel his game. He's back some semblance towards how he was as a 20-goal scorer, and I really feel like it's not going to be expensive to bring him back. I think that maybe there's that relationship there now where he'll come back and maybe it'll be another, prove himself kind of deal, I think.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned him. Let's just get to him now. Alex Kerfoot he's not the UFA this year, but he is one next year. It's $3.5 million. There were stretches where he was playing up and down the lineup, some points down the 4th line. He's a useful player, but the sort of cap hit and sometimes playing in certain places in the lineup, there's been questions about his future. And if they're bringing back all the core guys, that cap hit maybe needs to be sacrificed, I guess.
Yeah, there's two cap casualties that may occur this summer. Number one is Petr Mrazek. Number 2 is Alex Kerfoot. Alex Kerfoot. I like Alex Kerfoot. I mean, I don't appreciate his dumb plays in Game 6, last night.
That was bad. Yeah,
100%. But I think he's definitely. I think last year he got a lot of criticism, but I think this year, after that rough stretch for the entire team, I did think he found. I think he looked good, and especially towards the back end of the season where they moved Nylander to the 3rd line, and you had that you had that top 6, that second line of Mikheyev, Tavares, Kerfoot, and I thought despite everyone's criticism of it, while maybe the offense wasn't necessarily there, I didn't think it was that bad of a line, and when JT's going, I think that's a useful line.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I think it's just the streakiness for me. It's not worth $3.5 million. I think that if you could either see this as what Alex said, a cap casualty that you'll use up that money elsewhere and still find depth pieces in free agency, do it. But I think if you do trade him and you're able to still somehow get another top 9 guy, maybe younger, cheaper, I don't know, I would do it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, maybe Abersazy, keep an eye on him. Maybe he's there in some way. UFA Colin Blackwell. I mean, just the guy fit, but I just wonder if some of the young guys maybe coming up sort of squeezes him out of the future plans.
Oh man, if they could bring him back, I'd bring him back so fast.
He makes $725,000, so he probably might get a bit of a raise
For sure.
But I like Colin Blackwell.
Man, I love him on the fourth line.
Yeah, he was great. He kept Spezza fresh, so I think that was a double whammy for me in that one.
Speaking of Jason Spezza, he's like 10 points away from 1,000. I don't want to see him go out like this, but I mean, the camera had a definite shot in the game on him last night. It makes you wonder.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I love Jason Spezza. Obviously, what he brings to the team off the ice was clearly essential.
Yep.
And I hope, and they're not necessarily young anymore. They're 24, 25, and 26. But I hope those guys take a lot of lessons from Jason Spezza and move forward with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, if he can come back, I'm sure he has a spot on, maybe not a permanent spot, but maybe in a similar way they were using him this year where he wasn't playing every night. I think that he is useful to the team in that sense, but if I can't see him as a permanent fixture in the lineup.
Even if he's not a player next year, he'll be around in some regard. He's that kind of player in like that role in that team. Forget about the Black Aces of Brett Senny, who never forget. Joey Anderson, Nick Robertson is not really in this conversation, but we'll talk about him plenty next year, I'm sure. Forget about Pontus Holmberg, Alex Steves, Dmitry
Ovchinnikov.
Sure. Abersazy. Wayne Simmons does have another year going to next year, and he has a no trade clause, which is weird. I don't know if you move him. I guess
Simmons?
keep him for punchy face stuff, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he endeared himself to the fan base to start the series.
I think you do it for the matchups like you did with Kyle Clifford, but he's not an everyday guy.
Kyle Clifford has an extension after this, 2 more years at just under $800,000. I mean, I guess he's going to be around.
Well, I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be around with the Leafs.
Oh yeah,
they play with the Marlies this year, so
this is true. The bunting will be back, and the bunting. I mean, forget about where his playoff future may lie because he was obviously at points taken off the first line, but he'll be back. Calder finalist Michael Bunting. It was such a shame, by the way, because you knew one of those big guys were going to get knocked off. Real shame that Lucas Raymond isn't the finalist.
Yeah, I know.
Because like that beginning and middle stretch of the year, he was sensational. But it feels right that Zegras is up there and Moritz Seider is Moritz Seider. Okay, Mr. RFA Pierre Engvall.
Bring him back. Bring him back. Bring him back. My
Alex
Lord.
has been waiting years for this Pierre Engvall. Years.
Well, because he's had this. Oh, it was just so frustrating. Where with Engvall, it's like when he got that contract, things kind of dipped. And then, when his spot in the lineup was up for grabs, things dipped. But I think this year, from the beginning of the season, he had that set role. And it really didn't change for the most part, where it was you're on the third line with David Kampf and Ilya Mikheyev. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the PK, that's it.
Yeah.
I really agree with that. I think there was one time, I think Steve Dangle tweeted out that one night Pierre Engvall was playing, like he was out there playing for his life, that everything depended on it. And I think that he had that momentum, that energy that never really went away with him. And like, this is the current Engvall we do have now in the top 9.
Development is not a straight line, as Will once said to us. It's up and down. It's in all sorts of ways. We talked about David Camp earlier. Yeah, he's pretty safe. Keep him around. Like what a Swiss Army knife type player. Mitch Marner. I mean, yeah, he's coming back. He was great. Maybe still a bit more go with the net attitude from him. I still think Marner took step forwards. I still think there is more from Mitch Marner in the playoffs, though. It's not negativity
Which
for
is
me
scary.
here, but I still think there is something from Mitch coming. That's just me. Tavares.
Yes.
I
Do we
listen,
have to have this conversation about John
strip
Tavares?
him of the captaincy.
I don't have the energy for it, and like I just think it's ridiculous. But whatever, that's just me. I didn't play hockey, so I'm not allowed to have an opinion on it. But
Austin Matthews is the MVP, so we can move on from that.
are we sure Austin Matthews is coming back though?
Is that a thing?
No.
Are people saying that?
No. Well, I'm
Okay.
sure. Well, listen, everything exists on Twitter. So I'm sure it's out there. I don't know if you heard it on SDP. Apparently someone called him selfish for getting 60 goals.
William Nylander. Okay, this is why I bring up Nylander. I don't know how I feel about William Nylander anymore. He was flying in Game 7, but I just wonder how much deeper the team can get, and I wonder about how the money lines up for goaltending and all that. And we know Dubas has been very loyal to the Big Four, but there's just something with Nylander. There's always that question with him. And I at least wanted to get your guys' thoughts, because there's always that. Nylander's an itch that never goes away sometimes.
Yeah. I think as a Nylanderthal, as Anthony Stewart puts it.
I can only imagine what he's saying today.
Trade for Kasperi Kapanen. But but yeah, man, that is frustrating. He's frustrating. I wouldn't even lie. That it just sometimes it just hurts to watch. And I love William Nylander.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a William Nylander lover on the podcast. But
Yeah,
that one
William
that
Nylander
was rough.
stand.
Yeah, William
Okay.
Nylander stand.
Okay.
But,
Just don't be like the dream stands that are awful.
I think for me, I think he comes back. I still love that cap hit. I love what he brings to the team. Great regular season, like amazing career high, almost a point per game player. But if you trade him, what are you going to replace him with, especially at that number right now? So I like where he's at in his terms of age. And I think when we talk about Mitch Marner getting better, and for the criticism we gave him last year, I think Nylander has that potential as well to keep on getting better.
It's just a frustrating player, like never before.
It's not a skill thing, right? Like
No.
it's not a skill thing. That's why I do agree with the assessment that he can get better, and I don't necessarily think it's a skill thing that needs to happen for him to get better.
I think
You just
decision
want to
making.
shake him.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the
just,
mental part of it. I think. Yeah.
How about just don't be afraid to get hit and go into the battle. I don't care if you're down 5-0. Go battle. Jesus, that really upset me. I'm not over that play. Muzzin, I thought was a lot better in the playoffs.
yeah.
It's
That's so interesting. No one talked about that.
I mean, I wonder why.
It
Morgan
didn't fit the
Riley,
narrative.
Mr. Tessa Virtue, Morgan Riley.
No, he's coming back. I give that man a hug.
Mr. Morgan Riley Virtue.
He needs a
Seriously,
hug.
he needs to be the captain.
I've said this.
I'm serious.
For 3
Shouldn't
years.
It should have been.
We have been the earliest advocates for Riley for cap. That's shot, by the way.
You should have copyrighted it, by the way.
Riley, Captain Morgan? I don't think we can do that. I think that's a little above. TJ Brody's good. He'll be back. To be very fair.
Yeah.
Giordano's an interesting one because he just, I really feel it feels right that he goes back to Calgary at some point.
Yeah.
If he takes the Spezza deal, I'd do it. Hometown guy, played well. I think. I
don't see where he fits on the team. If you want to develop Rasmus Sandin, he does not. Mark Giordano does not fit on this team unless he can play on the right side, which I don't know. I don't think that's a thing.
I've never
never in my life.
goddamn discussion with Leafs defenseman.
Well,
Does he play the right side?
I remember Alex. Remember we Travis Dermott his future will depend on if he plays on the right side.
And I was right, and now he's no longer a Leaf.
Oh God, that was thank goodness that finally happened. By the way,
Yeah, I can't see him coming back. Like he won't get regular. Like he won't play every night. You have to play Rasmus Sandin.
How about Justin Hall? He's not up this year, but he's up the year after. Still at $2 million, and
I don't know where his value's at right now for you to trade him for anything.
Right-handed defenseman with a modified no trade clause.
I really think he comes back. I don't like. I get it. I understand why people are upset or were upset at Justin Hall, but other than the first game he played in the series, I think he's looked he's looked fine.
Lyubushkin is a UFA.
I'd love to have him back. I became a very big Lyubushkin fan this year. I thought he fit very well for what he was able to do. Low cost for getting him, but I still love Nick Ritchie. And I think he's just type of guy that I think they needed.
I think that's fair.
If he doesn't come back, then they have to go out and get someone. Ilya Lyubushkin.
Someone Lyubushkin like someone Bogosian like. I mean
27. That's what I love about it.
That one hurts. Adam.
28. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That was a low
I'm sorry.
Blow.
I'm sorry.
Blow.
It's all Charles Barkley's fault for saying the Leafs were going to win. That's when you knew.
I said it too. I said it there too. I said don't say that.
Game Ronti, and he did not. In his famous last words. Sandin and Liljegren think for themselves, and I don't care about Rubens, Hollowell, Krall, and Dahlstrom because they're the Black Aces.
Exactly.
Okay, obviously, when it comes to the goaltending, the number one question is Michael Hutchinson, who is a UFA.
He's coming back.
I put some serious money on Michael Hutchinson coming back.
He has that playoff pedigree they need.
Yeah, he's been to the. No, I'm not going to make the joke that he's been to the second round. I'm not going to do it. Shalgren, no offense, I don't care.
Well, he has another year, so I guess he's coming back.
He'll either be the backup or he'll be third goalie again. I don't know. Oh no, because he started the year as like fifth, didn't he? I don't know. Yeah. I don't care about Eric Shalgren.
Actually, I don't know if he started the year as fifth. I don't know if that's. I think he started the year third.
Yeah, well, he's there, and you're right, Daniel. It is a great story. Shut out in his first game and all that. Peter Mrazek.
He's not coming back.
2 years after this is 3.8. He will be packaged with a pick and sent to Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Actually, no, because he has a 10-team no trade list, which is that is unfortunate. Then Jack Campbell makes 1.65 right now. I am fat. He's 30 years old. I'm really interested to see what this contract looks like, if he's the guy, or trade Nylander and go get a really good goaltender like John Gibson or Robin Leonard. Come on. I want to be right about one of them.
Or Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
That's what you've been saying. Jack Campbell, I think, is the biggest mystery for me this off season. I'm really not sure what they do there. I'm kind of, I'd like him to come back. I guess I don't know. The thing I have trouble with kind of putting together is that stretch between January and March, because he got the COVID shutdown, then there was this weird break, and then he clearly was injured, and then they rested him finally. Yeah. So what I'm trying to figure out, what was wrong in that break between the COVID shutdown and when he started to look like he was injured.
Exactly.
Was he injured that entire time? I wouldn't put it past that. It's just, I don't know. But, I don't think he was the issue this series. Mm-hmm. Again, if are we watching the same series at all? I'd like to bring him back, but I don't know what I'd have a limit of what I bring him back at.
I really feel like one team is going to offer him like 5 for 5.
And why is that the Dallas Stars?
No,
I don't know because
no,
maybe we don't know because
no.
Adam, you have way too much confidence in the NHL
we don't know his
general
cap
managers.
because
They have Ottinger.
he's
Sorry,
30
go
years
ahead, Daniel.
old. He's 30 years old.
Yeah,
He's gonna want what might be his last big contract, or the big contract he's been
his only
fighting.
one.
He's been fighting for since 2010, and I like Jack Campbell. I'm not saying he's a bad goalie. I really did like him. He really did change things around for me, especially after he did have a, I guess, change of heart since the World Juniors when he was a bit more too confident with things. I like him, but I still think that he just peaks at a 1B. And if you do bring him back and you don't really fix anything with the backup situation or what you're going to do with there, I think it's just going to be the same thing over again.
Fair enough.
I like to point out they did try that with Mrazek. I know they did. They tried to do it, but it didn't work.
Anything else on the Leafs, guys?
I'm confident in this offseason. I did put that GIF out there it's the deleted scene in Days of Future Past that we need you to hope again, Professor X.
Yeah.
I think that the core has learned a lot. They've gotten better with things. I think to a certain extent, we're going to say the overall thing of the first round exit narrative is still always going to be there. But
yeah,
I think to a certain degree, the narrative has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Things are different. The core has gotten better. Mostly everyone's coming back, and the pieces that they were able to add, I think that they'll be able to bring back the guys that really showed they could be there for the long haul. And again, I'm going to say Ilya Lyubushkin.
Alex.
See, I want to say what Daniel also said, but I just can't. I don't have the energy today. So. Imagine I said it, but Daniel said it. Or imagine what I said Daniel said.
Take your time, Alex. Take your time. We could talk about this little by little in the coming episodes, but take your time.
I just can't wait to have all this happen. I just can't wait to repeat the next year all over again. Can't wait. Can't wait for the radio hits. Cannot wait another year of this.
Okay, guys, let me preview next season. Everything I said this year applies to next year. Nothing matters until April. That's why this season was extreme. I don't know if you guys found this season also extremely long, but this season was holy crap. Long.
Alex, my team finished last.
Yeah, no, I know.
It was bad. It was bad.
I watched every game, Leafs. I didn't watch every game, but I watched every time I watched the Leafs. I'm like, this doesn't matter.
It was the short off because of how condensed the past few seasons have been. It's been a very difficult stretch for hockey fans. It'll be nice to just sort of enjoy the playoffs as we go. I wanted to say one thing. I want to read the quote that was going around. Now, I think Luke Fox kind of radioed Sheldon Keefe here. So from Terry Koshan, I'm going to read the full quote. Keefe, quote, "We got a lot of respect in that handshake line from their team. It was a much different tone of respect on the other side from what we've experienced previously. We're earning respect in the league, but we're not in the respect game. We're in the winning game." I think that's a nice place to end it. I want to make fun of this. But I think it's done plenty on Twitter. I really would like to know where Bruce Cassidy and Tortorella and Ducharme I get what he was saying, but what are you thinking, man?
Okay, if any other coach did it, it wouldn't get rigged on Twitter. But
it's like
we're not going to have that discussion.
It was. I really think Luke Fox not putting that second part, I think really
what a surprise.
Look bad. So I didn't like that from Luke Fox. He didn't put the full context.
Toronto media member screws Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto media member radios Leafs. This is a daily occurrence, guys. Yes. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
But I think that quote sort of describes perfectly. No more of this respect. Great. I mean, this is an insult. I just bumped my mic. Win a round, please. I spent the whole week, Alec, I got out, the whole series was Alex, you got this. The Leafs are good. And Like,
You got me. Game 5, you got me. You got me.
After
Game
five,
5.
I was
You
like
hooked me.
Alex was there. I got him. And then
You
the
got me
Leafs
there.
just disappointed. And I had a bet with Will that the Leafs were going to make it like deep, and then they've just completely. Oh my god, they've just
Yeah, my
completely.
bracket's completely broken.
I don't want to go to work tomorrow.
I chose them to
Oh.
win the cup.
Well, that's on you. That's on you.
That's on you, Daniel.
That's on you, my friend.
Even I said that was a stretch too far.
Alex,
I mean,
I was
you
super
know.
confident.
You didn't have the Wild going deep, losers.
Oh,
Freaking Minnesota, you goofballs. Anyway, yeah, but I just listen. I get through the Leafs, but let's just at least now give proper time and credence to the rest of the teams in the league.
Yeah, let's go.
And not only give 2 minutes to the Minnesota
I'm ready.
Wild and only talk about the goaltending despite I've been holding back on this, okay? Listen, the Minnesota Wild, okay.
we're tamed.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Tame. Have you ever seen a picture of a shaved bear?
No.
It is the most terrifying. They just
I'm gonna
look
search that now.
sick. Just do it. It's awful. It's awful. The Minnesota Wild. Do you guys know what I named my bracket? Respect Minnesota. And do you know what they did? Forget the goaltending. Talbot was not the reason that if you only looked at that series and said, do you know what? Oh my God, they started Talbot over Fleury in game 6. You don't know what you're talking about.
I wish I
Sorry?
could search that, by the way. It looks like the head looks like a goat without the fur.
It's weird. It's very strange. Okay.
Why would you do one thing? Why would you shave a bear?
Maybe if he had they need to do surgery or something. It's too hot. I don't know. The Bears. Okay. Combined worst special teams, by the way, in these playoffs. Michael Russo, I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. Kevin Fiala is a fraud. There's legit coaching issues here because all the depth they had, the overachievers, completely disappeared. All these 20 goal scorers. If your name wasn't Eriksson Ek, who got hurt in that game, or Kaprizov, you didn't exist. That second period was one of the worst periods I've seen all year. And the team I cheer for finished last and won 8 games to start the first half of the year. I am so ashamed of the Minnesota Wild. And now, the Suter and Parise buyouts are now in full effect going into this offseason. They've completely dropped the ball. I am so ashamed of the Minnesota Wild. They've lost. The Blues are moving on. They won the Avengers a sweep last year at the hands of Colorado. We will preview the second round a little later. I hate the Minnesota Wild. I can't.
For me, okay, so again, writing for them on the Hockey Writers, they endeared me, this team. I think I saw the vision of Bill Guerin there. I saw what Dean Evason could do there, and I mentioned to you guys too in the group chat that I think that this current iteration of things, everybody not named Kirill Kaprizov have kind of peaked. Those guys that we really thought, they're paying above their pay grade. I think the Ryan Hartman story was great. Somehow becomes a center late in his career, and he's been able to be a good contributor. I think a fan favorite as well. I think he did finally find his place in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
But looking through this team, I think the way they were built, knowing that these cap penalties were going to happen for them, I think they were just kind of riding on the fact that the momentum was still there, but I don't think it is. Kaprizov doesn't have the support I think other teams have. Eriksson Ek, great, but he's not top tiered, high-end guy. Kevin Fiala, I think that he did fool us this year in the regular season.
Harry Houdini disappeared.
Yes, and he didn't have it for him. Their defense, it was still solid, but not amazing. Goaltending, I know it wasn't the whole story, but you didn't get the Stanley Cup winning Marc-Andre Fleury.
See, there was the depth was there though at one point. That I think that's what the frustrating part here is they had 1, 2, 3. They had 6 20 goal scorers, including Kaprizov at 47, Hartman and Fiala in the 30s. You had the scoring depth there. and it didn't show up in the playoffs. And I mean, last episode, I said that Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek had 10 of your 15 goals. And now today it's 10 of your 16 goals. So I don't think that's good enough.
I'm going to read a portion of this Michael Russo tweet. Most of it Alex has already sort of mentioned. So just to see how much of frauds they are. It's like Ben Simmons is a hockey team all of a sudden. After a 2-1 series lead, the Minnesota Wild lose 3 in a row for the 7th early offseason since advancing past the first round in 2015. Total no-shows for Game 6. Honestly, he was relentless. It was hilarious. As Alex mentioned, 6 20-goal scores in the regular season, 16 in the series, 16 goals. 10 by Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek. Largest off-season, question mark. Fiala, 0 goals, 16 penalty minutes in the series.
That's horrible.
This man. I'm ashamed of the Wild. They've disappointed me. They've disappointed me, the Minnesota Wild. Banished to the Shadow Realm. Banished.
I think this is the opposite of the Leafs last year and this year. I think when you look on the 2 series, I think with last year, the Wild, when they lose to Vegas, and everyone said, like, look at the hope we have of this team. It's a different Wild kind of culture we have here now. And we have the guys that could win, and we're getting the most out of these guys that, they were often miscast under other teams. And then we come into this series and it's like they reverted back to how they were 3 years ago.
So, Adam, you talked about coaching there, and I'm just going to double check real quick. But I believe Dean Evison is actually. Oh no, never mind. He has a 3-year extension. I missed that. I was going to say he's up at the end of the year, but I missed the contract extension.
I guess the assistants are gone though. They're toast, kaput. I'm mad at Minnesota. I'm actually very upset. As well, I'm disappointed in the Washington Capitals. They had leads in the last 3 games of that series and blew every single one of them. First off, also, Carter Verhaeghe, I think, was the most valuable Panther in that series. No, seriously. I swear, let me just quickly check something. Because first off, actually, big thing, big story here, and we're going to preview the Battle of Florida. That's going to be the rematch in the second round. First time since 1996, the Panthers win a series. Barkov, by the way, really needed that goal in I think it was Game 6 that he scored. Anyway, I'm really happy for the Panthers. Honestly, they do need to figure out the power play because I believe they are now, I think it's 0 for 17 on the power play. But I mean, what's next for Washington?
I mean, I think it's going to be the same because I think you look at, we have the same thing to have the same conversation with the Penguins and Crosby, where, well, what do you do while you still have Sid on your team? And usually the answer is, well, you can't rebuild while you have Sidney Crosby on your team. And I think very much the same applies here. I think they're going to run it back with, for the most part, the same group of guys. Now, maybe they're going to figure out their goaltending. And I think Samsonov was,
until Game 6, he was all right, but then Game 6 wasn't amazing.
Yeah, and that's where you have to figure out your goaltending, and I think that's something they'll do this offseason. But other than that, I don't think they're rebuilding. I think they'll run it back with the same core guys for the most part.
I think they have to, because you look at the extensions they have to all of those veteran guys. You kind of have to keep going with it, not just for Ovechkin, but just the way everything is kind of structured there. You're going to have to go with more or less the same type of guys. I think TJ Oshie there is signed forever. And there's other guys like Tom Wilson, John Carlson. We think about all these guys with extensions, Kuznetsov. These are guys that I think that they're going to do it again. Try to get the most out of these guys and say, hey, we still had that championship pedigree a while ago. Let's try to rekindle it.
Haven't won a series since that cup, by the way. Did you guys? Sorry, go ahead. Go.
No, go.
I was just gonna ask, did you guys see the big Nicholas Backstrom stuff from today?
No.
No, what happened there?
So Frank Saravelli quote tweeted a Stephen Wino tweet. Nick Backstrom quote, "The hip's not going to be 100%. There's something that's something we all know. Some days are good, some days are less good. That's just life." And then Saravelli says, "Nick Backstrom tells reporters today he has some decisions to make and nothing is finalized, but hints that hip injury may not be something he can consistently manage moving forward."
Right. That'll be a problem.
Which is Backstrom without the cast without Backstrom is just that's like the Penguins with no Malkin.
Yeah. I will say, Daniel, you did bring up Tom Wilson there. I'm not excusing what happened in
Game 1?
in the last two games
Okay.
with the blown leads, but I do think having Tom Wilson, like, this is Tom Wilson's game.
Yeah.
Come April, this is Tom Wilson's game. I think, I mean, he played a full minutes 31 in this series. I do think he has a much bigger impact on this series if he's playing, obviously.
Oh, he's on their top pair most days, right? He's
Right.
like Tom Wilson. There's a reason he got that contract. It was how good he was in their cup run.
Exactly.
Also, you know who didn't have a great game 6? The Ferravari John Carlson pairing. I think they were on the ice for every single goal against. Ferravari, I thought, was like an under talked about rookie this year. Thought he was decent, but the man needs to keep going. And I think Samsonov is up this year. Like, I think he has arb rights, but I don't know how strong that case is going to be. I think this is probably the last true hurrah of the Washington Capitals. I don't even know if they're going to – there's so many questions with them in Boston going forward. But I don't think you're going to see such a gap in the Eastern Conference next year like you did this season.
No.
Especially if the Devils can get a damn goaltender. That'd be nice. And the Sabres might be some sort of factor. So we'll see. But it's sad. And another postseason goes by without Ovechkin scoring in overtime. And I'm going to be so mad about that. So mad about that. Also take a bite of a gummy fish I have here. Great. I love gummies. Just a shame. I'll tell you what's not a shame. The Bruins getting eliminated. So Max Domi turned into Wayne Gretzky for a game. And the Bruins are done. So we look at them. Patrice Bergeron is a question.
Those hugs he gave to everybody after the game. It makes you wonder, right?
I wonder if it really is. That's it. We're not going to entertain the Montreal conversation, but it at least feels like to me that's it for Pat. Unfortunately, like a hell of a career. He'll win the Selke this year. If not, then that's dumb. But
Win the Selke.
He did everything he could, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think. Well, I remember earlier this year because they were talking about it, and it just seems like it's Boston or he's done, and it's like if he's done now, like cool, like you had a great career, man. Like there's literally nothing to be upset about if this is it for Patrice Bergeron.
It is that's the conversation I will be very upset to have is when Patrice Bergeron retires, because I mean, legitimately, I saw there were some hot takes going around that, you know what, he was a disappointing Bruin. That was like, I'm not even going to bother giving this. Like, I'm not gonna say you wrote it, because I thought it was just wrong, But
Who was it?
Carolina.
Who was it?
I'm not saying. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
No, it just doesn't deserve any attention.
You tell me after.
Yeah. Carolina, though, they break through. They beat the Bruins, which is massive. Still need to go a little deeper here, and they're going to be facing the winner of Washington. Not Washington. I'm looking at the notes. I see Pittsburgh, New York, and the preview we're going to talk about in a second. They're going to face the winners of those guys. But I love that they get past the Bruins with that goaltending situation, with Brad Marchand causing all the shenanigans he can. It's hard to root for Tony DeAngelo, but the Carolina Hurricanes are moving on, guys.
Yeah. Pardon?
I mean, not really. I chose them in Game 7, so they were able to do it.
I think. Well, again, like if you look at or to me, it seemed like there was the game. Was it game 5, I believe, where Boston just got in their head. It seemed like, and what they did a really good job at was saying, "No, get out of my head," and just moving forward and playing like the Carolina Hurricanes. Because they're right. I think I said it last or we were talking about last episode. They're the better team on paper.
What Carolina did, I saw some people describe it as like the perfect sort of game 7. Like Carolina always known as a very grindy team to play against because of their defensive structure. And that's exactly what it was. I would really, really, really like to see a more high-powered offense team end up playing Carolina to see what that would be like. And yeah, that means one of the Florida teams that they still have another series to get through. But I'm really, really excited to see what Carolina can go through. As bitter as I am towards that organization, anything else on Boston or Carolina we can talk about?
Not so much Carolina, but I think with Boston, that if Bergeron does decide to retire, there's going to be some changes. I think that are going to happen because they don't necessarily they just need a center. They just need a top line center and that's
Kadri.
even like
Kadri. Yeah.
Oh, he said Patrick. I'm like, no, with Patrick.
No, Kadri.
God, I'd hate to play against that 4 times a year.
And 7
Jake
in the
DeBrus
playoffs.
goes to Colorado for the negotiating rights.
No.
They can't play together.
Absolutely not. Oh my God, that would be a very dirty line. But, it's not better than Boston. You still got Pasternak. Who knows how much longer Brad Marchand's going to be at the top of his game?
Probably
Yeah, but the thing
without Pat there,
it's not. It's the thing of if you look at Vegas, cool. You can have the best wingers you can have some of the best wingers in the game.
yeah.
But what killed them was they didn't have any center depth.
So just what I mean is at least they're not completely.
Right.
It's not like the Caps where it's just like Anthony Mantha's good, but it's just all their other core pieces are dinosaurs.
100%.
I think
yeah.
just if he does retire, I think it does destabilize the Bruins to a certain extent because
they're not good anymore if they without Pat.
I don't see anyone as leadership material the same level he was on that team right now.
You disrespecting Craig Smith?
Or Nick Foligno.
I think that's
a captain of the past.
I think that's a good point, though, Daniel. I think now because obviously the last few years we've seen Krug go, Chara go, Krejci go. Now we might see Bergeron go. What this is going to really test, and what I think I've been talking about with this team and with the Bruins and with the Lightning for a few years now, is it's really going to test the group of players they have in that room in terms of leadership. Because if you look at the best teams, not just in hockey, I think across sports, there's the captain per se, but there's a group of leaders in that room. And I think we're going to find out who the next group of leaders will be in that room.
The Edmonton Oilers winning Game 7. I finally got a series right, guys.
They proved me wrong.
Do you guys know what McDavid was on the ice? You know what the shot attempts were apparently?
All of them.
40 Oiler attempts at 5-on-5 with McDavid on the ice. Wow. McDavid alone. Guys, again, this is not salt in the wound. I think McDavid just took the crown back. That effort in that game was incredible. Shout out to Leon Draisaitl as well, who is
injured,
hobbling, and is still one of the best players on the ice. Sorry, Phil. Love you, buddy. Sorry to see you go. Good for the Kings. We'll talk about them in a second here. But Brett Cool, a few little things here, and then I'll throw it to you guys. First off, I'm happy for Zach Hyman. Because just what a great dude. Connor's obviously great. I put good for Hyman twice on my notes because I'm an idiot. Obviously, it's good for the league that McDavid can go deep. If you're not rooting for McDavid to win playoff rounds, get out. And Brett Kulak apparently has a kid now. Love you, Brett. Good to see you moving on. If the Stars do not win tonight, if the Flames do not beat the Stars and we don't get Battle of Alberta, I will never forgive the Calgary Flames. I will never do it. But guys, McDavid is moving on. It's great to see.
This was the game that I think we've talked about before that will define the Oilers for this season, because we always talked about the core that was there, and that with the exception of those star guys, like, do the other guys really want it? And for me, I think they really did show it. Like McDavid, I think just, he had the gold star with him the whole game. That he just on a whole nother level, and every other guy kind of able to contribute. Like, I hate to say, like, Evander Kane had a good series. I hate to say that.
Yeah, it's just,
But I think they were able to rally from those early losses, and that was compared to something that we didn't see last season. So it is for them, when we, as much as we talk change narratives, I think it is changed for the Oilers. On the Kings side of things, I don't think it was a disappointment. I think it was a good showing of, despite the age and of the young talent coming in a certain sense, the Kings are back.
Alex.
With the Oilers, honestly, maybe I was overhyping it too much, but I thought after Game 6, I thought they had a Game 7 win. I think winning that game without your best defenseman in the lineup, with a defense that I'm not particularly a fan of, and and Mike Smith's been good this series, but I think winning that game and the performance that McDavid put on, I thought Game 7 was a win for the Oilers, and they proved me right.
I want to say, I forgot to double check this, but do you know who I believe has the game-winning goal in that series?
Who is that?
I believe it's Cody Ceci.
Oh, Lord.
Which is unfortunate.
Friend of the show.
Not a friend of it. We do not know him. We do not know him.
But we know he's a nice guy.
Indeed. We are going to talk about Tampa a little later, because I wanted to bring up another former Sen when we do talk about them. But yeah, LA, good for them. Doing all of this without Doughty was exceptional. And I'm happy for him. Sean Dursey, Alan Walsh-Klein.
There's clear signs of the young guys taking steps. I think this is just a start for the LA Kings, to be honest. And I still don't think we've seen all their young guys. So I feel like next season we're going to see even more. And I think they're going to take even more steps.
And officially, that's the end for Dustin Brown, which is a shame, but he's into the sunset. He tweeted
the picture of him holding the cup as captain.
That was good, yeah. That was good. So I realized the other day, no one should be surprised that he's retiring. Do you know why? So don't ask why I've watched this, but there's an episode of Hockey Wives, and I remember this vividly, where his wife actually said, so he's just signed a big contract, and at the end of it, he's definitely retiring. That clogged into my memory the other day. So it's obviously was a family decision. But it go back, because I think his wife's like a big part of the first episode, like first season of Hockey Wives. I can't remember her name. I feel horrible. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was said all the way back then that this was going to be the end. So there you go.
Adam, you know what I loved about that? That's some solid investigative journalism right there.
I try. You know, there's a season when Angela Price is on it, and I want to go back and watch it just to try and get as much Carey as possible. He's fishing in one episode. Just God, I love that man. Please don't retire unless you need to. Bring him back.
Do what's best.
Just even if you're retiring, bring him back in some facet, please. Oh God, make him a goalie coach or something. Just make him a consultant. I don't care. Or just live streaming him fishing in Vancouver. I don't care. Okay. The Dallas Stars have forced a Game 7.
And they better not win.
Well, Jason Robertson, 100%. Jason Robertson has started scoring a little bit, so that's very good to see. Oh yeah, don't you dare pull a Minnesota Calgary. Oh, I will I will actually lose it on you. I wanted to bring up one thing quickly about this series. Did you guys see the Nikita Zadorov stuff on his hit on Luke Glendening?
That was a weird hit, by the way. Did you see how Glendening landed?
It was awkward.
Yeah.
So we're going to read you a pair of tweets from Player Safety. One of two. After thoroughly reviewing all available video and following a telephone hearing today, the Department of Player Safety has determined that there will be no supplemental discipline assessed to Calgary's Nikita Zadorov for his hit against Dallas's Luke Glendening. That's not the bad part. I want you to listen to this next part. 2 out of 2. While there was significant head contact on this play, Zadorov took a proper angle of approach, did not extend outwards or upward, and hit through Glendening's core. Therefore,
through Glendening's head.
I said, yeah, well, listen, they say core. So don't worry, Alex, this is the good part. Therefore, under Rule 48.1, the head contact was deemed unavoidable. I will repeat that. The head contact was determined to be unavoidable. I have no words for player safety. Unavoidable.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Tall players need to stop that. They need to be held accountable. This is such bullcrap.
See,
don't throw the hit.
I'm watching, but I don't really understand how it's unavoidable though. Like, it's, to me, I was just watching the replay again. And to me, it seemed like he went right through his head. We're like, yes. So let's be frank. The principal point of contact, I thought clearly, was his head, but even his approach, it's not like Luke Glendening significantly changed elevation. Like, his head was, and he was going in, and Luke Glendening was also going in, but it's not like Luke Glendening went down. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which, like, he literally was at the same level. I'm a little confused at what the Department of Player Safety is trying to get at.
Unavoidable. What an awful league.
That one was mind-blowing.
I hate them. I hate them all so much. But win, Calgary, please. Jake Ottinger, by the way, did you see that on Calgary Flames, like their Twitter, on the Flames like Reddit account or Reddit page? They've been like posting like witch sorcery stuff to try and make Jake Ottinger not play as well.
Sorry, say that again.
Okay, let me find this. No, hold on. I sent this to Will the other day. Let me try and find this. So I love Reddit. Reddit's a fun place. I don't remember if I sent this to him on Twitter or no, it was on Twitter. Okay, give me a second here, because I don't want to close this Emily Kaplan tweet I have open here because apparently Crosby doesn't have a concussion, but she tweeted that he did. So
I was just going to read. That's why I got distracted.
I feel like Sidney Crosby's. I feel like Sidney Crosby's definitely playing with a concussion tonight, by the way. Here it is. The Calgary Flames subreddit has been attempting to summon a demon to help them curse and defeat the Dallas Stars.
Nice.
And there's just like cursed Teletubby stuff. There's a sign with some dialect. You know that meme about like when the astronaut's holding the gun to the head and it's like Earth's so beautiful and it was like it always is. It's stuff and it's like the Calgary Flames logo in the middle of like some sort of circle of I don't know, man. It's like it's a cult, always has been. It's very crazy. It's very magic with a K, we could call it. That's the Flames Reddit account or subreddit right now. It's been that kind of thing. So Reddit is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Okay, so my prediction of the New York Rangers getting swept is obviously not coming true, and the Penguins winning and making it all the way to the finals is very much in doubt right now as well for me. So first off, the Penguins are being held together by duct tape and bubblegum right now. I think Raquel's a game time decision. Jari's apparently playing, but this is his first game in how long? Evgeny Malkin is definitely hurt right now. And Sidney Crosby, initially, let me read this first tweet. This is Emily Kaplan on May 13th. As I reported on the point, multiple sources have confirmed Sidney Crosby has a concussion. Obviously, a positive sign he skated this morning, but given the nature of head injuries, it's unfair to speculate when he may return. Then, 5 minutes ago, Frank Saravelli, sources, Sidney Crosby game time decision, was not diagnosed with a concussion. There was some initial concern with the headache after Game 5 that might be the case. He was tested, negative result, nothing further developed, and belief is he remained symptom-free. Okay. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not gonna say anything there. But there is no quitting in New York. They come back in Game 5. They come back in Game 6. And now they force a Game 7 tonight. I don't want to say they have momentum because it's just kind of been slog fests. And also that Rodriguez penalty will be haunting Jay Fresh for a long time, which is really funny. Game 7, Pittsburgh, New York. Who are we taking? I'm going to see the New York Rangers.
Yes. Interesting. No, I think it's kind of, I think New York should win this game with all, like, considering everything that's going on the other side of the aisle. I think New York should win this game. It's just a matter of, you have to make sure that the team in front of Igor Shesterkin, or the defense in front of Igor Shesterkin, is like, good, because sometimes it's leaked, and that's when it's become a problem, and you can't let that happen, especially if Crosby is playing. And the thing is, if he's playing hurt, and Malkin's also playing hurt, and Jari, my guess, might also be playing her a little bit too. I think I want to say, like, you kind of have to take advantage of that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think just because they're playing hurt, I think you have a bit of an advantage in that sense too. And I know the players I'm talking about are top tier, but, like, again, I really think this is in the Rangers' favor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay. I think that all the injuries that have happened is a narrative that has kind of fit them so well in this era. They've battled through it. They've been able to find wins despite it. And I don't know, it's just something about, I think there's something different with this team right now, that the way they've been battling, the way they've been able to kind of go around the injuries and still find consistency. I don't think this is the same team that have been swept the last 2 years. I think they have what it takes. I'm not saying the Rangers are a bad team. I just don't think they're a high, like, they're not at their potential as of yet of having consistency all along the lines. I still believe in Pittsburgh, so I think they're gonna take Game 7.
Fair enough. Okay.
Don't tell Mike.
Here's
He's
what
gonna listen to this.
Of course. Here's what we know so far. The second round, St. Louis, Colorado. I think Colorado, even as better as St. Louis are, I still have Colorado in that series, to be honest. And a rematch of the Battle of Florida from last year. I'm very excited for this. I just wanted to read some stuff to give Tampa credit here, because they won the series, and they're obviously, I hate them. We all do. But a little snippet about the man, the myth, the legend, my man, Corey Perry. Corey Perry, this is from Eric Stevens. Corey Perry is going to be playing his 10th playoff series since being bought out by the Ducks. I'm sorry, I still love you all. Obviously, makes to the finals with Dallas, with Montreal, and so far has won with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm very happy for him. Beside that, obviously, Vasilevsky in Game 7 was the Iceman. Nick Paul, who scored both the goals in Game 7. Nick Paul does it all, the saying. They won the Spezza deal, obviously. Nick Paul was a tremendous deadline pickup, scoring both the goals for Tampa Bay. That line was really good. Leaned upon a lot because Braden Point got hurt last night. He was basically the reaction shot for any time something happened to do with the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. It's pretty sad. So Nikita Kucherov might be hurt, or he's lazy. Braden Point's hurt. Ben Sherrod is banged up. Aaron Ekblad is definitely hurt. Again, the Panthers are 0 for 17 in their power play. But I think anything against the Capitals is going to disappear when they go against the team that beat them last year, and Ben Sherrod going up against the team that beat him last year in the finals as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be definitely a different series from what we saw last year. The Panthers have reloaded, they've added, they've traded, they've mortgaged their, not really their future, but they've traded a lot to get what they needed to go right now. And I think this is also going to go to a game 7. I think both teams are going to battle through injuries. Something I wanted to point out before is I think the way Braden Point was injured and the way Nick Paul was able to take up the minutes, I think it's just another credit to Julian Breezeball, the way he's been able to just rebuild that third line of these guys that could play anywhere in the lineup and in any situation. And I think for the Panthers right now, we talk about momentum, 1996 to 2022. I think that's enough momentum for them right now with the core they have to try to make this the best run they can.
And that's why Julian Breezeball will be general manager of the year.
Fair enough. Okay.
Barbecue as well, by the way.
Go ahead.
Wait.
We say a lot of players look great in suits. Julian Breezeball actually looks great in a suit too. Yeah, well tailored.
It wasn't really, fair enough. Yeah, man looked
so many
good.
Shots of him, yeah.
Man, he looked great. He looked great, and he was happy last night. Yeah. Barbecue Bruce is back. The Canucks are bringing Bruce Boudreau back next year, they said. So it doesn't look like they've sort of worked on a full contract long term. Of course, a lot of the thing like to do Jim Rutherford saying that Boudreau obviously didn't coach a full season. Sort of a shame they didn't go out and get Barry Trotz, but I think Boudreau definitely deserves a chance. He did good work with the Canucks, so I'm happy for him.
So when Rutherford made those comments, I saw like there was a lot of, hate going that way in terms of what he said. And sure, maybe it was a bit harsh, but again, he's a tenured NHL general manager. I don't know what else you expect. But I do think the comment, the idea behind those comments, I think are fair. Like, I think you're right. He did not coach a full season with the Canucks. And I think you have to see what you have, like, who knows what this offseason is going to be for the Vancouver Canucks. I think there's a lot of questions. And I think if you give Boudreau that team for training camp and you let him go through that entire season, it gives you a better idea of what you have with Bruce Boudreau, with that core of Pettersson, Hughes, Demko, and if you want to include JT Miller in there too, if he's still a Canuck by the start of next season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, what note to do with Montreal? They have made seemingly a very good hire to start building up their analytics department. Christopher Boucher. Not the Chris Boucher formerly off the Raptors bench.
That's what I was going to say.
But this Christopher Boucher is from apparently the Montreal area.
Chris Boucher, yeah.
So that's how funny it is. So apparently this gentleman was one of like the founders of sports logic. So when it comes to analytics in hockey, this guy was ahead of his time. He's been working with the Sharks as a scout, and they didn't really get to build up their analytics department. This is all from an article in the Athletic by Marc-Antoine Godin, by the way. So go check that out. It's very short, good little piece. And apparently a lot to do with maybe his leaving, maybe had to do with Doug Wilson actually stepping away from the Sharks. So it seems to be Kent Hughes doesn't miss, gentlemen. Kent Hughes doesn't miss. As we all know, great guy, love him. Just add, what a man. But seriously, the Habs are looking to actually build up an analytical department, not just use the spare screwdrivers, we like to say. And yeah, it seems like they've got a good guy.
Get the guys on base.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
Guys on base, analytics, and all that. Yeah. Again, it's not something new. It's just information. Apparently, one of the biggest things is he's good at actually talking to people about the numbers, which is important because then otherwise you have guys like Paul Fenton who's like, analytics, I want to listen to you, and then he gets fired because he was bad at his job.
That's actually a really underrated part of analytics. I don't think anyone talks about that. I think a lot of people just say blah, 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 analytics. And then they go, I don't understand it. Well, yeah, because it's like telling someone who's never watched hockey to analyze hockey and then just assume that they'll figure it out. Like, no, you have to explain why this is like this. When I went to go watch a game with Mike, he literally word for word explained to me something about Morgan Riley and the way he skates.
Yeah.
If I didn't know, if I just stared at Morgan Riley for 60 minutes, I wouldn't pick up on that. So you can hand me expected goals above average or whatever, but that means nothing to me. It's just a number. Mike,
by the way, is really, really, I know we rip him, but he's a very good friend of ours. He's actually very good at breaking down just like the way players move in that. It's something that I think we as people who never played the game, like often a lot of that stuff's like people rip, I didn't play the game, but legit there's stuff that we can't pick up on. Mike's really good. I had a discussion with him once about sort of like the strengths and that about a left-handed BD playing on one side and right-handed. And instead of just, the better pass options, he actually really went into depth with me on it, and it was really, really, really interesting. Don't give him too many compliments. Cut this out, Alex. Don't let him listen to it. Just kidding, Mike. Love you. But yeah, good for the Habs. Yeah, like I like Dom. Like Dom Decisions I think is pretty good at making it easy to understand, but his player cards are still kind of like, I need you to dumb it down. I don't know what all this means. What's this GSBA stuff? I'm dumb. No, I don't get it. But yeah, good. That's it. Next time, I think, when is the second round starting? Like maybe Tuesday?
That's a great question. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
I hope later in the week. Oh, yes. I will be here Wednesday for the episode, but Sunday next week, I will be in Calgary and be unfortunately unable to record for you guys. Hopefully, I go to the Flames game.
That'd be cool.
Pictures for you guys for there.
That would be cool.
If they win, they gotta win tonight.
They better.
That's a section of my vacation that it's actually depending on tonight.
So depending on when the schedule is, we're either going to talk about the start of the second round or we're doing a second round preview. Yes, the Habs and Leafs are both gone, so we're going to be lying on their content.
All right.
Unless
so
they
Alex,
fire people.
Who's your team right now?
I don't do that.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Adam, who's your team right now?
Sorry, guys. I know people ask that. I don't do that.
Daniel, my username for a few days was Kale McCarr for Conn Smythe, so I'm kind of a big Colorado guy. When Montreal
I might go for the Nazem Kadri there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll watch the games. I can't. I don't know how to do that. I never just serious how it is.
Yeah. Oh, the Blue Jays. Okay, Alex's team are the Blue Jays.
Different sport, but okay.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. We've gone for a while, so that's it. It's hot. Oh, I'm sweating. It's okay. Thanks for listening. Check out all the links in the descriptions and check out the YouTube version to see all our beautiful faces. Or the pain in Alex's face as he talks about the Maple Leafs.
The pain.
Or later in the show as I'm eating gummy fish. I love gummies. I may have sworn there. Something may have come out there. All right. Whoops. Sorry, Alex. Right at the end. Thank you for listening and check out the TikTok. And go get some gummies. Gummy worms. You put in some vanilla ice cream. You ever do like when you're a kid and going like Montana's and that they have the ice cream with the gummy worms? It's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious. All right. I'm going to try and get Alex to think about that and not that way yesterday. It's at the end, so it'll be easy to find.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
No big deal.
Thanks, guys.
Just gummies do that to you, know what I mean? Anyway. Etsy, before we go, you know what's funny? The Big Apple, like the tourist spot. Alex's head is in his hand. The tourist spot, right? That's between, I think that's outside of Coburg or Coburg. One of them.
Coburg, yeah.
I'm confused. I bet they're just the same place, and it's messing with everyone. Home of crypto lover Chris Johnson. Anyway, so we stopped there on the way yesterday to go see the grandparents. Apparently, there's like a little dog park there, so we because we brought one of our dogs with us, and so Tupson's doing his thing, and I didn't know there's a petting zoo, but like the entrance was closed, and I'm just like looking outside the gate to see if there's some animals, and it was like all empty except I saw the back end of a pig, and it was a big pig. So I just love animals. Like I love pigs. They're cute little chunky boys. So if you're near the Big Apple, not New York, forget New York. I'm sure they have pigs in New York, but like there is a really, really big pig at the Big Apple. So everyone go and see that big pig. That's everything. Goodbye.